Hello. You are listening to Dads with Startups, a podcast about a couple of entrepreneurs who put family first.
Hello, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going, John? I have
Pretty
to
good.
say that I was on Twitter the other day, and I must have noticed a message from you from a while back, and I looked at your profile picture, and I was deeply impressed. I was like, "Ooh, who is this guy? Do I know this guy?" Yeah, the
Wait a minute.
sunglasses on.
You started following me, right?
I think so. Maybe that was the day I followed you. Yeah, I followed you back after like a year.
I have I don't know how many followers I have. 60, 70.
Yeah,
I don't have very many followers, but
I liked the picture though. I was like, this is a cool cat, whoever this is.
it is. Yeah, he was cool. Yeah. So, how's life? How's the new house adjustment? Are you all the way moved in and permanently working from home?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm permanent. We are finally moved out. That was a big ordeal. And I finally just got sort of my previous landlord, her final calculations of all the money we owe her, or she money that she's going to barely send to us, I should say. So that's all good to have behind my back. Right now we are, it's sort of two different worlds. We have the upstairs apartment, I'll call it, where we're enjoying life. Everything's really nice and clean and fun. We're enjoying like breakfast out on the patio every day. The weather's beautiful. And then the bottom is like it's a disaster zone down there. It's like we have a guy down there, and it's just like a bomb went off all over the place. It looks kind of hopeless, and I'm just dealing with the contractor stuff, as I've mentioned, is a little challenging, but I think slowly we're getting there. We have cabinets. They're just in boxes right now, and we're waiting for an electrician to come, and that's kind of our holdup right now. But things are getting done slowly but surely, so it's an adventure.
That's fun. I'm glad I don't have to deal with. Well, we are dealing with contractors.
Yeah.
We're pouring cement this week, adding an RV strip on the side of our house, and extending the driveway a little,
Cool.
adding some more patio to our existing tiny patio that we were given with the house that we had built. So exciting stuff.
And so you have an RV for that RV spot, I assume?
No. But we have room to park another car on the side.
Gotcha.
It's something that we know we're going to need, as our kids get older and they start driving. And plus I'm adding a basketball hoop to one side, and just wanted a little bit more room to shoot around as well.
Cool.
So
that's great. Well, maybe an RV one day. That sounds like actually a fun thing with living in Utah. I think there'd be a lot to go see.
Oh yeah. There is definitely a lot to do with an RV, but we are not at that age yet. To do real camping right now.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Fair enough. Well, cool. So how are things with the fam? Before we jump to the business side of things, what's going on with the family? Anything interesting going on?
Oh, let's see. Here's your little having kids is great story. On Saturday night, we woke up. My 5-year-old daughter had thrown up just all over the place. She's on a bunk bed, so it was like across the bedroom floor, on the door, out across the hallway, on the wall over there, into the bathroom. I don't know how much she ate before she got to the toilet, but
I'm sorry. Feeling better now?
Oh yeah, she's 100% now, but it was rough for her, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The fortunate thing is nobody else got sick in the family, and
good. Okay.
Feel lucky for that.
Yeah, that's always good.
So,
yeah, it's never fun when everybody experiences that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our kids. That's the problem with having kids in school, and plus our neighborhood has just so many children all over. So who knows where she got it? There's germs going all over the place in our neighborhood.
Wow, crazy.
But it's worth it.
Glad to hear she's doing good. Cool.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, on my end, I don't even. Just there's so much little things going on. One thing I will say is that my we moved up here with 2 cats. They were brother and sister. They were both one was all black and the other's black and white. And I really cared for one of them more than the other. We all kind of did. She was like the really friendly one, and she would come up to you and she'd like cuddle with you, all this stuff. And the other one, her brother, was just like, just give me food. I'm not interested. So we move up here. I tried to keep them in the garage for about a week, and inside the house a little bit for about a week, and just make sure they get used to the smell. Because I've had cats run away and try to, go home from when they move and stuff before.
Yeah.
So I would give them about a week, and I opened the window. Found there's a little garage door, side window we were able to open and kind of lock it up, so that they can go in and out. And they figured that out. And within a few hours, she was out. I could see the the motion detector light going on all night, so I knew she was out there. And that was the last time I saw her.
Oh no.
It was so once interesting, like living up in the woods, I didn't really kind of realize that as a neighbor told us that the coyotes are quite smart. They can somehow like know when someone's moving in. It's almost like they're like, oh look, new people moving in. They know this change is happening, and they assume that there's got to be some dumb animals there from the city, and they just hunt like crazy. So they were all over it, I guess. And so the neighbor was telling us that the only animals that survive are the shy ones and the scared one, which her brother was. So that was kind of a big lesson for the kids, is sort of learning about having the first pet that we've lost due to the coyotes, and kind of still like it kind of makes sense then, but it doesn't fully to the little one yet. And so but I guess it's a good experience. It's not the first time I've had cats taken by the wild animals out there. But it's always sad when that happens.
Well, who knows? Maybe they made it back home.
Yeah, maybe they have a new owner now.
Yeah. Well, moving on to work stuff. I released this really great update that I am so excited to tell people about. I've been working for months on it, just kind of like here and there. But it affects, I don't know how many lines of code, thousands of lines of code. I mean, it's very integrated. It's sort of an accounting measure. Anyway, I have finally got that out the gate on Monday. And so that's been a big relief. But now I'm jumping right into an update. We have a new customer. They would be, until a few weeks ago, they were the largest contract we've had. And when we are going through the setup phase for them, which they're supposed to be launching next week, we figured out that they have this specific need that our app couldn't cover. And so it's kind of either piss them off or build the feature for them. So now I'm working on building that feature. It's also no small feature, not as integrated into everything. I'm not going to break 100 tests by making this update, but it's still not a small task. So this is going to be fun. It's going to be a fun weekend for me.
Can you tell us anything about it, about the feature itself, or is that
Yeah. So when we're talking about the business license use case, and when somebody applies for a license, it goes through a round of approvals. They have to collect approvals from maybe 4 or 5 people. And so Civic Review sends out the emails. It has interface where they can like just hit an approve button or a deny button. Well, turns out they need this same workflow for renewals, which nobody has needed that before. Or when they have, I've usually been able to kind of say, well, what if you did this, change your process a little bit within the city to make it work this way? And I tried that with these guys, and they're like, there's too many records. We can't do it that way. And where in the past, it usually only affects a few. And so they're like, all right, we can deal with that. Like, we like the software enough. We'll deal with this small inconvenience. But this one was like, half of their licenses need this feature. And so it's like, all right, gonna have to do it. So I am involved in that, and I'm super stressed out that I'm not going to get it done. And when I get stressed in my old age, I get heartburn. And so
yeah,
do you get heartburn
I can. Yeah, there's I
when
can
you're
experience
stressed,
that.
or do you get it from like food?
Food usually
Hmm.
at night, mostly if I eat late at night.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess that can happen to me late at night, but food isn't really an issue for me as much as stress. When my stress levels go up almost always, got to keep that bottle of Tums nearby. So
Gotcha.
it's been fun. It's been just a big challenge. So
Is there a deadline they want this by? I mean, have they signed up yet?
next
Or
week.
okay,
Yeah,
so they need it by the time they sign up or on board.
yes, they have to send out their renewal announcements next on Monday. So it has to be done Monday.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So that is a
Yep.
that's a tight deadline.
And I started working on this update yesterday. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? You think it's is it doable once you kind of just focus?
oh yeah, yep.
That's good.
Yeah, it's doable. It's definitely doable. And it'll be nice to not have to get other customers to work around now that we'll have
Totally.
this feature. But yeah, let me tell you what's great though. You know how I've hired a couple people recently. Well, they are becoming extremely autonomous, and
Oh, great.
with new customers signing up, they just kind of coordinate together. All right, who's going to work on what form? I don't have to be there directing and say like, all right, you do this form, you do that form, and everybody report to me. They're so there's two of them, and I gave each one ownership over a different client's onboarding process. And so it's kind of like you're responsible for making sure they're on
Nice.
time and getting done. And they're executing really well on that. So I
That's
am
great.
very excited and very happy to have them at this point in my life.
It's got to be a nice just rest assuredness that they're being taken care of. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Cool. All right. So there's the business, sort of like the challenge that you have, and you're also your success there.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem is I got to where I am, not just this week in this specific challenge, but the other update I pushed, I've really had to cram in recently. I think my biggest challenge lately has been time management. I have been very terrible at time management. I get distracted easily by the emails that come in. In fact, I recognize this finally. This just a few hours ago, I closed down Gmail so that I don't get those anymore. I should have been doing that every day,
Yeah.
But I need to figure out a better way to have focus time. And yeah, that's really what it comes down to is focus.
That's
'Cause I get
interesting.
pulled one direction or another pretty frequently, What do you do to cover that?
You know what's funny is I've always had that same issue. I can get distracted by the littlest things. One thing that surprisingly has been effective for me. I don't always do it, but I take a little thing that I think Dave Asprey sells called Bulletproof Focus or something like that. I don't know what's in there. I don't think it's anything crazy. I think it's just like, like artichokes, stuff in there, extracts and stuff and different little stuff like that. But if I take that with a bit of, I take it with a bit of fat, so it's like the heavy MCT oil. Put it in my coffee. Maybe I put butter, maybe I put MCT oil, and then I take this kind of like little capsule that's all about focus. I suddenly within a half an hour, I'm just like in the zone, and that's very. I can get in the zone naturally, but it's not always the case. And if I'm not, I can be so distracted. I can find myself looking at news and stuff. But whenever I kind of do this routine, I'm just like so dedicated, so focused. It's really quite surprising. And so I don't know. That's the only. I've tried every little trick. I've tried getting things done and all these different little tricks, and they don't last for me very long. But this one seems to be fairly solid. So you might look at some, if you're open to that stuff, you might look at any kind of supplements from folks you trust and see if there's anything going on. Do you think it's
the caffeine that gives you the focus? Have you A/B tested this?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a caffeineaholic, so caffeine doesn't do it for me. It might enhance it. And any opportunity to drink coffee, I make like 3 cups of coffee a day at minimum, and I have an espresso machine that's going all the time. And so that doesn't make a difference. Like I'll just be wired, but still not distracted. Whereas if I do this, now the one thing it could be the MCT oil too, because that's just pure energy for your brain,
Oh, is it?
So who knows?
Huh.
It's sort of what
sounds like snake oil.
It does. I never believed in this stuff. But,
until it worked.
And then I was like, all right. Yeah. And my wife she's a dentist. So she's had 10 years of medical school background. And I was very skeptical of the stuff. And then she was into it and she was like, yeah, this is working and here's why and stuff. And I was like, well, okay, if she believes it, maybe I'll give it a try.
Interesting.
So
anyway, whether it's a placebo or not, if it works, then it works.
There you go. Exactly. So maybe meditation
on the results.
Yeah. I have started doing Headspace too, which I am finding forces me to kind of go into that mode of meditation and just relaxation and just that balance. That's been helpful with a stress of like this sense of like I'm not getting enough done. There's all these kind of thoughts that come through me the other day of just like how slow I am at everything. And I'm like I'm way behind where I need to be. And that's been helpful, just kind of checking in with myself of like, okay, where's you have an actual deadline on Monday, but I mean, in general, we may always be behind where we want to be with these projects. So just allowing that to be, and not fighting it so much. So that's cool. I'm glad you had that update out. That is always a fun feeling when you actually press that button.
Yep, it felt really nice. What I need to do is I need a vacation. That's what I really need. So I actually browsed a resort in Mexico today for a little bit. So maybe I'll get a little more serious about that.
I love that. That's great.
Vacation.
Just go out
there.
We
did take our kids to Disney recently, but that was not a stress relieving vacation.
No, that's for the kids. Yeah, that sounds nice. Just go out there, lay in the sun, maybe read a book.
Yep. Oh yeah.
There's a great episode I'm listening to right now of the Tim Ferriss Show with Tommy Fidel, the creator of the iPod. And 2 things he talks about in there are 1, getting things done and time management. So that's relative or related. And the other thing he talks about is how Steve Jobs took vacations. And so there's a cool couple stories in there about Steve Jobs' method of vacationing and just how it really resulted in more good ideas and more innovation and stuff at Apple. So I did check out.
Yeah, I should check it out. Do you remember any takeaways from it?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I liked was that he would go on vacation. He always went to the same place. I thought that was kind of interesting. So he had 1 or 2 places that he would always go to. So kind of maybe similar to his turtleneck thing, where he'd always wear the same turtleneck. So that took away probably the time of having to look up where I'm going to go next. And then the other thing was everyone would be excited that he was gone and think he was really gone. And then within about 24 to 48 hours, they'd start receiving calls from him. And mostly it was him having read a book or really using this time to really think about what's the future of Apple look like. And then he would get on the phone with his, executives and just say, talk me through this. What do you think about this? Go do some research. And so he would kind of it's like he would do work, but not in the same way that maybe he would when he's at the office. It was in a different kind of a mental shift there. And it resulted in a lot of good stuff, I guess.
Yeah. I could write this trip off on, write it off on taxes and call it a work retreat.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So on the upside, I did get a couple new customers this last month, and I got a new largest customer. I feel like every other month for the last 6 months, I've been getting a new largest customer, which is really
Excellent.
great for growth.
Yeah.
And one is in Canada. So
Great.
I'm now a multinational
Wow.
company, which I know in SaaS isn't that big of a deal, but it's a big deal to me.
That's a
I'm
big
pretty
deal.
excited about that.
Congratulations. Yeah. Especially with a product that is that was built in sort of a US perspective. That says a lot that it's making its way across the borders.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So how about you? How's work going? What's the update?
I just pushed out an update this weekend too, which I had been sort of sitting on for a while and testing and adding more to it. I'm sure you know that feeling. And so I fixed a lot of issues that have just been bugging me that my developers have not been able to look at because they're not that big. They're not like, bringing things to the ground level, but they're just like little annoyances, like things that don't, errors that don't make sense or typos in the errors and stuff. So I just went through and kind of did a big update of stuff and added a few new things. So the app's looking really good, much better now. Things are a little more logical when you go through it. And I had a lot of little bugs in the email process. So when you signed up as different people, there's the course creator emails that go out, then there's the learner, basically their students, those emails, and trying to figure out like what's going on at what time and all that stuff. Took a little while to get everything sorted out. So those are now sorted out. I also introduced a new bug while doing so, which I didn't realize until about 6 hours later when I got a kind of like a chat from somebody that was like, my learners can't sign up. So so that's good. I'm excited about that. I have some, goods and bads. So I reached out to Webflow early this week and I was excited, of course, I'm just gonna get on that, on their kind of integration page, and was informed that they, for some reason, shut it down right now. They're not accepting new applications, which was a very big surprise to me. And I was like bummed about it all day. I followed up and asked why, and it seems like they are restructuring the store, which I was like, okay, cool. I can wait then if that's the case. My guess is right now it's sort of just like a big directory where when you click integrate with the app, you just are taken to the vendor's website, and it's mostly very separate. There's not a tight integration. So I think what they're probably going to try to do is replicate something like Shopify, where there's an actual code happening underneath the background, some API stuff going on, and then they're probably going to take a cut. I'm guessing. That's my guess. I have no evidence of this right now. I'm just speculating that that's what I would do if I were them. So that's fine right now.
The platform tax.
Exactly, the platform tax. So I'm totally fine. I would love that. Share the wealth. Let's share the. So that's fine. So I'll wait for that. The other one, I was going to look at Weebly. That's a whole nother mess. Weebly, I tried to apply for them and I realized that they shut their app store down to everybody in 2020. I didn't even know this. But they still have an app store functioning. It's just kind of whoever got in by that time. And they're moving everything to something called the Square app store because Square bought Weebly. So that's interesting. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that one. I did apply to get into that, but I'm not sure if it's going to be beneficial because it's like, it's hard to tell whether an app is really for Weebly or for some other aspect of the Square ecosystem. So we'll see how helpful that is. And then the final thing is I reached out to a company called Duda. Duda is a smaller player. They're kind of like a Weebly or something where you can make an instant website, but it's much more like one-page website is the style of that. And they really blew up during the pandemic. So I reached out to them and we're going to have a chat next week to talk about some integrations that are deeper and getting on their app store. So that's some progress there. So on the app store side, that's kind of where I'm at. On the other side of things, it's just more about realizing like I've just got to do the old-fashioned SaaS growth plan of marketing with SEO and PR and possibly some other kind of content strategies and stuff like that. So it's just recognizing that I just got to go for it the old-fashioned way and just do marketing. So that's been a good kind of realignment of kind of where I need to go and thinking about that. Yeah.
How's the you guys are producing content, right?
We are, but it's very slow now. We kind of we ended up getting rid of our writer because it wasn't working out. He was producing stuff that I was spending as much time to fix it as I was if I just wrote it. So I'm trying to do what I think I mentioned to you last time and just kind of dictate to my phone and do some content that way. So I'm trying to do like a walk once a week where I go out and just write an article that way. So that's good. And then I think, we got our first sign up today that is paid. So I'm excited about that. We have our first paying customer. So making some progress. That's a big milestone for us. And
what are you going to do to celebrate?
Well, it coincides that my wife and I are going on our first date in a very long time tomorrow night with a babysitter and all that. So it'll be a good time to celebrate. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Nice.
So so those are the updates. I know. Yeah, I think that'll be fun. Now I was mentioning to you earlier that one thing I've been looking at this week was a great talk out there. I'll try to put in the show notes from MicroConf and Rob Walling. I don't think he interviews this person, but she basically gave a talk on automating your onboarding experience, So I was kind of like, it showed up on my YouTube kind of like alerts, and I was like, yeah, that's something I should do, but I'm not that excited to do, to watch right now. So when I finally sat down to watch it, I was kind of blown away. I was like, oh wow, these are some great ideas. I kind of expected it to be just like super basic, like obviously, we should all know these things, but it actually got into some really good tips that I was surprised by. And so one thing that hit me was to run. There's a couple of different things. One was to run any kind of signups on your website through Zapier's content scoring system or lead scoring system. So I don't know if you've heard of this, but they basically have if you pay for their service, they'll give you a free lead score tool that if you run new leads through them, will give you a sense of how the quality of the lead. Is this just a bot that signed up? Is this just some VA somewhere? Or is this somebody who's actually spent some money somewhere and has some potential to actually be valuable to your business? So that was one kind of nugget that I really liked. And then the other ones were related to like making sure that if you have a free trial, for instance, having a bunch of automated emails that go out for that, but also having like a 3-month reactivation email that goes out and says, hey, you let your trial expire. Would you like to have another month, and stuff like that. And what they found is that it's really led to some higher conversion rates doing that. So there were some great ideas in there that I really liked. And then the final one I'll mention is a webinar for a demo. And so I don't know if this is something that you have. Do you have a video demo that people can watch of your product right now?
No, we do them one-on-one, so we don't have a recorded one that we offer.
Yeah, so I don't either. And anyway, just listening to this, it was sort of like, gave me a good idea, which is she basically was saying for their demos at her SaaS, they have the pre-recorded video, but they use a webinar, sort of like an evergreen webinar system for it, so that when you click on the get demo button and to sign up for a demo, you put your email in, maybe your name, and you're shot into this webinar system. But you're not thinking it's a webinar, it's a demo. So you're not expecting this kind of live interaction.
Yeah.
And then she had a bunch of cool like flow charts, but basically that spawns a bunch of different emails that go out depending on their activity and kind of how long they lasted at it, how long they watched the whole thing and stuff like that. So it sounds pretty an intriguing way to make the demo a little better than what we've done, which is mostly just, I think we have enough videos on the side of the product, but there's no way to really collect who's watched it. So this might be another way to grab a little more with leads. So those are some of the ideas I had. I'm curious though with you, like what's worked in terms of, do you have any automations going on? I know that, for a while you guys were more in the high touch aspect of the sales side. Have you moved any of that stuff over to some automation?
No.
Okay.
Still very high touch. Yeah, we don't really have much automation. However, our onboarding process for new customers, we haven't really developed a formal training system. And so I took my 2 customer success reps and I told one of them to develop a monthly webinar program and kind of lead that. And so he will be conducting or broadcasting these webinars
Nice.
mostly towards current customers so they can kind of get a refresher on the feature of the month.
Okay.
But we can also drive potential customers over
Yeah.
there and say, hey, look, if you want to check this out, we're having this webinar. And then the other customer success rep, she is developing a curriculum right now for self-serve training, and she'll
Cool.
be working on articles and little, mixed with Loom videos,
Right.
just kind of like teaching them through. And so I took my instructional designer background and I gave her a few pointers about identifying learning objectives and drilling down into, what those learning objectives need to be, and gave her that little crash course and let her loose. And
Very cool.
I've tried my best to stay out of it and just stay back and let them go with it, because I want them to know that I trust them.
Right.
So
Totally.
yeah,
But you
going
can guide
good.
them if they need.
We'll see. Oh yeah, and they've asked for feedback, and I said I'll look at it next week because this week is really busy.
Not right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I love that idea of the webinars that are serving the dual purpose, because I would say that that's opportunity for, like, if you did them maybe even maybe you opened up to everybody on your list, but you publish those on YouTube, that's extra content that's keyword optimized. And so maybe if a particular feature people are looking for, that leads to them finding it, or you just basically just convert people that are kind of picking around at your product and not, kicking the tires a little bit, but they're not sure yet. And now they get to know you and they get to learn what you're up to. So that sounds really smart.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. We took a kind of a new approach it was really fun. I sat down with them. We did a little bit of quarterly planning. And I started out by saying, okay, my goal was to get these to customer success reps to think a little bit more forward, and proactively about, like, what can I do to make things better on the customer success front? But when posing that question, they just gave me blank stares. And so it hit me. I had this great idea, which is a pattern that I'll use forever and always now, where I started with a column on a whiteboard. I love whiteboards. And I wrote down, I asked the question, what makes a customer success program successful? Like, what are the attributes? And so we wrote those out, and we had a bunch of things. Customers are, they're confident in being able to use the software themselves, all these different traits. And then we went through and we scored ourselves on those, and on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the strongest. And they were all 1s, except for one of them was a 4. And that 4 was customers. I think it was customers love Civic Review, and they do tend to like us a lot.
That's great.
But the other ones, a lot of these other traits of successful customer success speak to how autonomous are our customers, how much support do we need to give them. So, this isn't really, we're not trying to reduce churn, because we've had 0 churn so far, but we are trying to lighten our burden as on the customer service front. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it was a really
Which gives
good
you
way.
more time to go find new customers. So definitely worthwhile.
Yeah. And so it was a really good way to kind of start with the goals and the outcome, and then it got them thinking. So they started spitting out all these ideas like, we could do this, we could do that.
Nice.
And so we had this action item list, and then I kind of just assigned a few of them out and let them take ownership of it. So,
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and it, as you were talking, it just reminded me like what I just brought up in terms of this presentation I was watching was supposed to be called, improving the automations for onboarding, but I didn't really even get into that in my points. I was mostly just talking about the marketing side, but what you bring up is actually true. Like there's maybe the rest of the video does have that, but basically I've been thinking too, how can we make the onboarding experience after someone has paid and signed up and said yes to the service? How do we make that better for them without having to hold their hand as much ourselves, but maybe the product does that more. And so it sounds like that's something that you guys are going to be tackling as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Very
So
cool.
we'll see. I should have some results from that in probably in about a month. We should have
Cool.
done our first webinar, and
Nice.
so it'll be fun to see how that goes. So
very cool. All
yeah.
right. Well,
All right.
that sounds good. Well, I'll let you get back to your deadline. I don't want to take a moment away from that.
All right, let's wrap it up. Have a good one, Kevin.
You as well. Thanks, John.
Thanks for listening. You can learn more by visiting dadswithstartups.com. Please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/dadswithstartups. Until next time, bye.